I'm not done with you yet. Get ready for more. I'm going to make you leave this school before me.
When I got to my class, I burst into tears. When I got to the cafeteria later that day, I was humiliated even more.
Oh, the thief is here. Everyone, hide your meals before she steals them.
The students burst into laughter. I felt tears pooling in my eyes again. I wanted to run away. Ever since my second day in my first year of senior high school, I woke up with zero zeal of going to school. While getting ready, I was always struggling to hold my tears. On my way to school, I would wish for time to move slower because I didn't want to be there quickly. Unfortunately, the school wasn't far from my house, so I got there early. You might be wondering my reason for not wanting to be at school. There's a final year student, Liz, who decided to make my life a living hell. The first time we met, she'd asked me for some money to get something urgent. However, I had nothing on me. I'm sorry, Liz, but I have nothing. I could share my food with you, though. For some reason, she got angry. She pushed me roughly and stormed off. It started from that day. Whenever she came across me, she had something bad to do to me. Whenever she saw me, she never failed to shove me off or spit some vile words on me. Once, there was a meeting held by the seniors, and I was in attendance. They'd thrown a question. Seeing no one attempting to answer, I raised my hand. My one insecurity was my stuttering. Nearly everyone at school knew about it. I tend to stutter whenever I am nervous or angry. So, as I stood up and saw the number of eyes looking at me, I couldn't help but feel nervous.
Shut up and sit your ass down if you have nothing to say.
I was taken aback. Before I could even speak again, Liz beat me to it.
You're going to waste everyone's time with that stuttering of yours. Sit down and don't make the mistake of trying to answer any questions here or outside again.
I slowly returned to my seat, nearing tears with how everyone's eyes were boring into me. My confidence was lowered from then. I stopped answering or even asking questions in class. I completely limited how much I spoke because I didn't want to get looked down on twice. One day, while I was walking into the cafeteria, I caught Liz's eyes. I quickly looked away and rushed to a table. However, before I could sit, I began hearing laughter. As I looked around, wondering what was happening, I realized that they were laughing at me, especially the guys. I slowly took my seat, trying to ignore them. As I looked up, I saw one of Liz's friends approaching my table. I immediately got scared, wondering what she wanted. To my surprise, she crouched in front of me with a nice smile.
Don't mind these idiots mocking you. Your skirt is stained. Rush out and get it cleaned. I'll bring you a jacket.
I wanted the ground to open up and swallow me at that moment. I knew I'd made a mistake wearing a white skirt while on my period, but I wanted to wear it so badly because it looked cute. As I stood up and rushed out of the cafeteria, their laughter was even louder. I burst into tears once I entered the restroom. Liz's friend came to meet me there as promised. After I'd cleaned myself and changed, I tied the jacket around my waist to cover the stain.
I'm so sorry about that. You should be careful. Liz doesn't like you. She made everyone see the stain. She's my friend, so I know what she's capable of doing more bad things to you. So, just ensure you avoid her as much as you can.
I was so grateful to the girl and watched her leave after comforting me. I decided to be even more careful and avoid Liz as much as I can. Unfortunately, despite avoiding Liz for one whole week, she still found a way to make me feel bad. I was in my class one day when two people suddenly approached me, visibly angry.
You pretender? You heard us asking around for our notes, yet you kept quiet. Are you that obsessed with seeing people fail?
I don't know what you're talking about. What's this?
You stole our notes. Your secret is out now, thief. Give us our notes.
I couldn't believe my ears. Firstly, I'd never spoken to those girls. Secondly, I didn't steal their notes. I didn't even know what note they were talking about. I attempted to defend myself, but they grabbed my bag before I could utter a word. Stop it. Give me my bag. They succeeded in pouring all the content of my bag on the floor, and my eyes landed on two notes that weren't mine.
There! You're nothing but a thief, Brittany. You did this so we won't pass our project, right? You're so evil.
I was dragged to Liz's class. They pushed me to my knees in front of Liz.
You were right, Liz. We found the notes in her bag.
Immediately, I knew Liz set me up. I was taken to our teacher's office where the case was reported. She was in charge of the project we were working on. After they tabled the matter before her, she was so furious that she kicked me out of the project, leading to me failing the subject. As we walked out, Liz held me back.
I'm not done with you yet. Get ready for more. I'm going to make you leave this school before me.
When I got to my class, I burst into tears. When I got to the cafeteria later that day, I was humiliated even more.
Oh, the thief is here. Everyone, hide your meals before she steals them.
The students burst into laughter. I felt tears pooling in my eyes again. I wanted to run away, but I was too hungry. I hadn't brought any food from home, so I needed to eat. I walked to a table where 3 people were, but they shooed me off before I could sit, drawing more laughter from the students. I took my food and went over to an abandoned table in the far corner of the cafeteria, where I ate alone in tears. When I returned to the class, I found out that my bag was missing. I asked some of my classmates, but they claimed to have no idea where my bag was. Some even ignored me. I was thrown into a state of panic as I began looking everywhere, crying silently. After looking for nearly 20 minutes, I left the class to report to the principal of the school. He'd followed me back to my class, but when we got there, my bag was sitting right under my seat. I swore that I'd looked there earlier, but the bag wasn't there, but the principal refused to believe.
You're going to be punished for playing pranks on me. Do you not know that I'm the principal of this school?
I begged him in heavy tears, but he didn't believe me. I got 1 week of detention. As I followed the principal out to begin my punishment, Liz walked past me and sent me a sly smile. I instantly knew she was part of my bag's disappearance and sudden appearance. As if that wasn't enough, 2 weeks later, my pictures were all over the school groups. They weren't nice pictures of me. I'd fallen asleep in class prior and drooled. Someone had taken 3 pictures of it and spread it everywhere. For 1 whole week, everyone was mocking me whenever I walked past them. The pictures were always shoved in my face. They'd even gone as far as printing it out and pasting it in the restrooms, hallway, and even my class. As if that wasn't enough, 2 weeks later, we had a play to present, and Liz was put in charge of it all. For the costume, she made me dress like a gorilla and gave me bananas to eat. The others weren't supporting that because according to the script, I was supposed to have the supporting lead role while someone else had the gorilla role. But Liz switched them. I didn't mind. I told everyone I was fine, but I wasn't. That turned to me having a nickname from Liz. Even after the play was done, she kept calling me Gorilla. 2 weeks later, I was in my class when I began hearing my classmates whispering and including my name in their talks. I looked around, and some of them were staring at me. I decided to mind my business until someone confronted me. It wasn't until later, while having lunch, that I knew what was going on. Liz's friend, the same one who helped me with my skirt stain, approached me again. I got to know that Liz had spread the news about my parents' divorce and the reason for it. I lived with my grandparents and never spoke about my family to anyone because my parents' marriage had ended badly. While my father domestically abused my mom, she in turn had been cheating on him for long. After they divorced, they refused to take responsibility for me, and my grandparents stepped in to do so. It was a sensitive topic for me, and Liz had told it to the whole senior school students. I ran out of the cafeteria and straight to the bathroom where I burst into tears. I'd never felt so sad. I wanted to know why Liz hated me so much, because I was so sure it wasn't over our first encounter. However, I couldn't remember offending her in any way. I was tempted to report her to the principal, but I didn't want her to just get punished like that. I needed her to feel the same humiliation she'd been putting me through, and in the worst way. So I started planning. There was an event coming up where most parents would be in attendance. We, the seniors, were going to be making different presentations and talking about our hardships. I decided to take my revenge then. When it was my turn to speak, I mustered courage and grabbed the mic. I began with how my parents had separated and how it had affected me. When I came into this school, I dreamed of having friends who would help me out emotionally and academically, but someone who I was supposed to look up to made that impossible for me. Nearly everyone's eyes turned to face Liz, who had a terrified look on her face. I went on to reveal how badly she'd been treating me. She's been bullying me from the 3rd day I arrived, and that has made everything 2 times harder for me. I faced the principal and told him that Liz had set me up when I had the bag issue with him. I also revealed how she'd caused the teacher to kick me out of an important project. Gasps filled the hall with everything I was dropping. I didn't fail to tell them how she'd told everyone about a sensitive topic which I never discussed. If anyone can boldly come out and say I'm telling lies, then please do. I waited, but nobody did. Everyone knew it was the truth. They'd all witnessed Liz bully me. I didn't fail to tell everyone that majority of the students had joined her in mocking me. The principal held a disappointed look, while Liz was digging daggers in my body. The event was immediately ended and investigation began. The next day, the principal summoned everyone in the school. He expressed his disappointment in everyone who joined in bullying me. As for Liz, she got suspended for 1 month. Her name was put in the black book, and the principal swore to include her behavior in her final transcript letter. When she returned from her suspension, everyone avoided her, even her friends. She apologized to me, but I refused to accept her apology. She didn't deserve my forgiveness. Until she left the school, everyone avoided her. I'll be graduating in 2 days, yet Liz hasn't started college. I heard that she'd stolen from her uncle who raised her, and he'd kicked her out of his house. She now lived with her aunt who wasn't rich enough to send her to college. She tried to work at a restaurant, but after bullying the cleaner, she was fired from the restaurant. As of now, she's jobless and feeding from hand to mouth. I guess some people never learn their lessons, and karma always gives them their cup of tea. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Richard had gone out to run some errands, and I was at home with Caleb, just enjoying a peaceful day. I left him in the living room for just a few minutes while I went to the kitchen to grab a bottle. But when I came back, Caleb was gone. My heart stopped. I searched the entire house, calling his name, but he was nowhere to be found. Panic set in as I realized that Emma and Lily were also missing. I called Richard, my voice shaking with fear. We called both of our families, the police, everyone we could think of. Hours passed, and still, no sign of Caleb or the girls. And then, my phone rang. The man on the other end of the line told me he has my son.
I have your baby. I'll send you the address now. Come as quickly as possible. Don't be scared. I don't want anything from you. I'm only helping you.
Hi, my name is Sharon, and I married Richard, who already had 2 daughters with his late wife. From the first time I met Emma and Lily, I knew there would be trouble. It wasn't just the glares they shot in my direction, the way their voices dropped to a whisper when I walked into a room, or how unfairly they treated me. Their father, Richard, was oblivious, or perhaps hopeful that things would smooth over with time. But I knew better. There was something more than simple dislike in their eyes. There was a deep-rooted hatred that I couldn't quite understand. They had lost their mother years before I met them, and I suppose in some ways, I was an unwelcome reminder that life was moving on. I tried to be understanding, tried to win them over with kindness, but it seemed the more I tried, the worse things became. At first, it was small things. Emma would forget to set a place for me at the dinner table. Lily would take my clothes from the laundry and dump them on the floor. I brushed it off, telling myself that they just needed time. But with every passing day, their efforts to drive me out became more calculated, more malicious. They weren't just trying to get under my skin, they were trying to break me. Their father, Richard, tried his best to discipline them. He would scold them when they were rude, ground them when they disobeyed, but it was as if nothing he said or did could change their minds about me. They wanted me gone, and no amount of punishment could sway them. It wore me down. I began to feel like I was walking on eggshells in my own home, constantly watching what I said and did, always on guard for the next cruel trick or hurtful remark. I tried to hide it, to be strong, but the stress was eating away at me. Soon enough, I started having panic attacks, those terrifying moments when it felt like the world was closing in, and I couldn't breathe. My hands would shake, and my heart would race, my mind spinning with anxiety about what they might do next. Richard was supportive, but I could tell it was tearing him apart. He loved his daughters, but he could see what they were doing to me. He suggested therapy, and though I was reluctant at first, I finally agreed. I needed help, anything to ease the suffocating anxiety that had taken over my life. But even therapy couldn't prepare me for what was to come. After a year of marriage, I became pregnant with our son, and that's when the real nightmare began. Emma and Lily were furious when they found out. It was as if my pregnancy was the ultimate betrayal. They didn't say much at first, just stared at my growing belly with cold, hostile eyes. But their actions spoke louder than words. They tried again and again to make me fall. They would leave things lying on the stairs, push past me a little too forcefully in the hallway, and leave puddles of water on the kitchen floor. But luck was on my side. I never fell, never got hurt, and I carried my baby to full term. When I finally gave birth to my son, Caleb, I thought things might change. I thought that seeing their baby brother might soften them, might make them see me as something more than the woman who had stolen their father. But I was wrong. They didn't even congratulate me. They just stared at Caleb like he was something dirty, something they didn't want in their lives. Richard tried to talk to them, tried to get them to bond with their new brother, but they wouldn't listen. Their hatred for me had transferred to Caleb, and I was terrified of what they might do. 3 months later, my worst fears came true. It was a quiet afternoon. Richard had gone out to run some errands, and I was at home with Caleb, just enjoying a peaceful day. I left him in the living room for just a few minutes while I went to the kitchen to grab a bottle. But when I came back, Caleb was gone. My heart stopped. I searched the entire house, calling his name, but he was nowhere to be found. Panic set in as I realized that Emma and Lily were also missing. I called Richard, my voice shaking with fear, and he rushed home immediately. We called both of our families, the police, everyone we could think of. Hours passed, and still, no sign of Caleb or the girls. And then, my phone rang. The man on the other end of the line told me he has my son.
I have your baby. I'll send you the address now. Come as quickly as possible. Don't be scared. I don't want anything from you. I'm only helping you.
I could barely breathe. He sent me an address. Richard and I didn't waste a second. We drove to the address, an old-looking building on the outskirts of town. My hands were trembling as we pulled up. When we walked into the building, we found Emma and Lily tied to 2 chairs, their faces bruised and bloodied. Caleb was nearby, lying in a crib, crying softly. The man who had called us stood in the corner, arms crossed. He was tall and rough-looking, but there was something about him that seemed familiar.
Sharon? Right. I figured it was you.
I stared at him, trying to remember his face. And then it clicked. He was the man I had helped a few years ago, back when he had been homeless. I had found him on the street, freezing in the winter cold, and had helped him get an apartment. I hadn't seen him since, but we had kept in touch briefly after that.
They came to me, these girls, said they wanted to sell the kid. I recognized them from your Facebook photos. You know, the ones with your stepdaughters. They didn't know I knew you, so I played along at first. But when I told them I wasn't going to help, they tried to fight me. I had to rough them up a bit and tie them down until you got here.
Richard's face was a mask of disbelief. He looked at his daughters, tied to those chairs, bruised and beaten, and I could see the devastation in his eyes. Richard's first instinct was to call the police. He didn't care if his daughters ended up in jail. After what they had done, after the fear they had caused, he was ready to see them punished. But I stopped him. I wasn't interested in sending them to prison. That wasn't the solution. Prison wouldn't make them understand the depth of their betrayal. It wouldn't heal the damage they had caused, or change the way they viewed me or Caleb. No, I had a different punishment in mind. Something that would make them face the consequences of their actions in a way that prison never could. We took Caleb home that night, and I packed the girls' bags myself. I didn't say a word to them as I folded their clothes, packed up their belongings, and set their suitcases by the door. They didn't deserve an explanation. They knew what they had done. When Richard asked what I planned to do, I told him. The next day, we sent Emma and Lily away. Not to juvenile detention, not to a facility for troubled teens, but to a place that would make them confront their hatred head-on. We enrolled them in a boarding school for troubled youth, one that specialized in reforming kids who had gone down dark paths, just like Emma and Lily. It was strict, with a no-nonsense approach to discipline. But more than that, it was a place where they would be forced to interact with other kids who had suffered far more than they ever had. They would be surrounded by children who had been abandoned, abused, neglected. Children who had lost everything. And they would be forced to face the fact that, despite their privileged lives, they had tried to destroy the one good thing they had left, which is their family. The school had a strict no-contact policy for the first 6 months. Emma and Lily would have no access to phones, no visits from family, no connection to the outside world. They would be isolated, forced to reflect on their actions, and given intensive counseling to help them work through their hatred and resentment. It wasn't prison, but in many ways, it was worse. They couldn't hide behind their father's love, couldn't manipulate their way out of consequences. They were alone, left to face themselves and the damage they had caused. For 6 months, we didn't hear from them. Richard struggled with the silence, but he knew it was necessary. He knew that if they ever came home, they needed to be different. They needed to understand the depth of their cruelty and take responsibility for their actions. When the 6 months were up, we visited the school. I didn't know what to expect, whether they would have changed or whether they would still harbor the same resentment. But when we arrived, I saw it in their eyes. They were different. They weren't broken, but they were humbled. The hatred they had once directed at me seemed to have faded, replaced by something like shame. They couldn't look me in the eye, couldn't meet my gaze without flinching. For the first time, they apologized.
You've been so nice to us, yet all we've ever done is be rude and unfair to you. We're so sorry, Sharon.
Yeah, Emma had said it all. We're sorry. Please forgive us.
It wasn't a perfect apology, and I knew there was still a long way to go, but it was a start. We brought them home, but things were never the same. They would never be the same. The walls that had been built between us over the years were thick, and despite their apologies, I knew it would take more than words to fix the damage they had done. Emma and Lily were quiet when they came home. They didn't try to cause trouble anymore, didn't look for ways to push my buttons or undermine me. They were polite but distant, as though they were afraid to get too close. I could see the guilt weighing on them, especially when they looked at Caleb. He had been the innocent victim in all of this, and now that they were back, they seemed to understand that. Richard and I worked hard to rebuild our family, but the scars left behind were deep. There were times when I wondered if it would have been easier to send the girls away for good, to cut ties and start fresh without them in our lives. But I couldn't do that. Not to Richard and not to the girls. They were still his daughters, and despite everything they had done, he loved them. Therapy became a regular part of our lives. Richard and I went together, while Emma and Lily attended their own sessions. It was hard work, and there were days when I didn't think we would make it. But slowly, things began to change. Emma was the first to open up. One night, while I was sitting in the living room with Caleb asleep on my lap, she came in and sat down beside me. At first, she didn't say anything, just stared at the floor. But after a long silence, she finally spoke.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I hated you so much. I thought you were trying to replace our mom.
Sweetheart, I was not trying to replace her. I never wanted to. I just wanted to love your dad, and to love you and Lily too. She was in tears now.
Yes, I know that now. But I didn't back then. I was just so angry.
I understand, and I forgive you. We hugged, and then Lily also came and joined us after apologizing too. Our family soon became that happy one I always wanted, and I couldn't be happier. Thanks for watching.